Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am currently painting a 8x7 gouache flower petals, and the colors that I'm using are yellow, gold, and orange for the petals. I obviously started with background and I just got the yellow that was in my gouache paints, and I got just a good glob, put it on the palette, enough water to water it down completely, and then started washing up the background. This is a technique used by a lot of artists who paint, and not necessarily watercolor artists, because sometimes there are paintings in watercolor that you cannot get that same effect or that same concept when you do a background wash. Background wash is basically for artists who do oil paintings, who do acrylic paintings, who do gouache paintings where there is a set tone background. So for my background, it was all yellow because it's a bouquet of flowers, and a lot of it was just a bunch of yellow petals. So if you were doing another piece that you say you want to have the background to not necessarily promote the major colors you're using, but give the colors a big pop. A lot of times artists would choose a color that will give, say for instance, if you're doing a purple painting, some people would do maybe a yellow background wash or some sort of reddish orange background wash, just to give the purple that big pop that you would need. And a lot of it is color theory. If you haven't taken a class in color theory, then I suggest you just look it up, figure it out through YouTube videos or even through my videos. I do a lot of color theory paintings, and it's one of those things where I have a really good understanding about color theory only because a lot of my artwork is catered around just colors that complement each other. And since I do a lot of floral art, you have to understand that nature already did the work for you, and you're just copying what nature is doing, and it's pretty much self-explanatory at that point. But if you are creating a work that not necessarily has the color palette that you like and you want to change that up, then color theory is a perfect place for you to start. So as you see, as I'm going in and out of my palette, getting more paint, washing my brush every now and then just to make sure that the paint isn't getting stuck. And this clip, you see my palette, you see how much paint I have on my palette. It's very little paint. I'm not adding a lot of paint to this painting only because it already has so much color. So the paint that I have on my palette is darker, and I'm working on the layers to the petals, and I'm making sure that I'm getting more dark paint. I'm adding a different shade, a different tone of paints. Shade and tone is not the same thing when you talk about it in oil paintings or any paintings in general. So if you want to learn more about that, just keep watching a video of mine, and I will probably go into depth with that. But right now, I'm just making sure that the petals are very, very outlined in darker paint, so that way when I do a picture or when I scan it to make prints, they will come out clear and crisp. I don't necessarily put a lot of time into each petal only because a lot of the petals are different, and there is no point in making sure that every single detail of a petal is in my work, because that's not the type of work that I'm aiming for. If I wanted to do this type of work where I'm consistently making sure that the details are always there, always on point, then I would probably spend a lot more time on this than I am currently doing right now. So I will get back on later and talk about what I am Hi guys, so I'm back and here we have myself painting the inside of the flowers. So I already did the background, which was green, and I made sure that I watered down the green just a bit and added a little bit of white just so when I go in with my fine brush, I can make details that will stand out in the prints that I will be making from these from this painting. And I actually mixed a darker green that's in my gouache set with a little bit of black, only because the shadowing in this painting is not a lot, but when you go deep into the petals and then the inside of the flower, there's really a lot of details in there, and I just wanted to highlight that with the green and the inside just a little bit, not too much, because then it'll start taking away from the actual petals and you can't really see details, and then you start just focusing more on just each flower, which is not a great thing in art. You want to be able to have eye movement all across your page. You want to be able to have people look at different details. What I really love about my style of art is that I create art that has many, many details that you can always come back to my art and you'll find something different in there, or you can even touch it at some points. If you own an original of mine, you will see that there are different types of painting styles in my originals. From my oil paintings, I would do the same thing. I would create little tiny details and make it so the viewer will always have something new to look at if they spend quality time with my art. A lot of my drawings are the same way. A lot of my larger prints are the same way. There's always something new for my art or for my viewers to come back to, and that's something that I take pride in and value in my work, because I've always heard in art classes, if you spend your time viewing a piece from a very famous artist, there's always something new to learn from that piece. And I wanted that in my work. So I spend a good quality time trying to figure out, what do I want people to focus on? What do I want people to track their eye in my work? Do I want people just to say, oh, that's a pretty flower. Oh, that's a pretty, drawing. I don't want people to say that. I want people to actually look at it, examine it, and be a little bit amazed when they do take the time. But then I understand there are people that do not take the time. There are people that go into a museum because it's a popular museum and they just want to say, yeah, I've been to that museum, so I know what's in it. Or there's a good reel that's been going around Instagram, and it's basically saying a museum has many different visitors, and one visitor could be like the one I described. The other visitor is the one that goes to see the major pictures, and then they, go to every room, they examine it. And then there's the viewer that takes her time, sees some events, has a membership. And then there's the viewer that actually takes their time, reads the description, studies the work, spends time with the work week after week or month after month. And those are the ones that I want people to say, this work is beautiful, and I love the way that there's hidden details in there, or the way that my eye can go from this corner all the way to the bottom and still find something beautiful. So that's what I want in my work, and that's what I strive for. Now I am adding white. And white is really tricky when you're playing with gouache. If it's not completely dry, you are going to pick up the paint underneath. And if you have a lot of paint underneath, you need to make sure you're getting globs of white. just because it's so transparent when you add it on. Now I'm trying really hard not to blend it in, and I'm always picking up new paint. I'm always washing my brush, making sure that I'm picking up white paint. Um, but right now, I think what I'm doing here is I'm just making the shadow for the white paint, so it's not completely white. I'm not there yet. Sorry, I jumped the gun on this one. So yes, I see the paint now. It is white. It's just very transparent, and it almost looks yellow. So I'm not completely finished. I will jump back in when I am at that point. Okay, I guess I didn't record the part where I was doing the whites, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed painting this piece. I've gotten good comments about it on Instagram. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more. I am also on Instagram if you want to follow me there. I'm more active on Instagram than I am on YouTube, and my handle is Valerie Yay Studios. You can find it in my profile, and I'll link it below. Thank you so much for being here.